They didn't just lie about you, they rehearsed it like a play, cast themselves as heroes, and fed the world a script soaked in cowardice. But here's the thing about fake stories. They always forget the wind changes. And when it does, all the carefully stacked lies collapse like a house of cards in a hurricane. That's exactly what's happening right now. The storm hit. And guess what? You're still standing. They're not. It's like watching someone spit into the wind. The mess they made is now landing right back on their faces. Every setup they engineered, every lie they whispered into curious ears, is now turning on them like a cornered snake. The tables didn't just turn, they flipped violently, and the spotlight that once made you look guilty is now burning them alive in front of everyone. That's not just justice. That's poetic correction. Let's talk facts for a second. Did you know that most smear campaigns don't survive more than a few seasons before the truth starts leaking out? It's science. People get tired of the same old villain story when the villain keeps showing up with integrity, peace, and results. Eventually, even the blindest audience starts asking questions. And those questions? They're loud now. They're echoing. Wait, were we wrong about them this whole time? Yes, chosen one. They were. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribing to help spread this message to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. You've already done your part by surviving it. Now let others see the truth you carried quietly. And thank you for being part of this mission. You're not just a listener, you are part of a force. Let's get back to it. Because this moment, it's bigger than payback. It's your name being cleared, not by a press release or a post, but by reality itself. And when reality speaks, it doesn't need hashtags or headlines. It just needs eyes. And right now, the world is watching. See, this wasn't just a lie, it was a hit job. You were set up in plain sight while the real manipulators smiled for cameras and posted captions about good vibes only. They crafted your downfall like artists of deception, hoping no one would notice the brushstrokes. But what they didn't plan for was truth with perfect timing. Truth that walks in late, but always walks in strong. And now it's here. And everyone who clapped when you fell, they're shrinking in their seats. You were never the villain, you were just the mirror, and when people saw themselves reflected in you, it scared them. So instead of healing, they attacked. Instead of admitting their envy, they called it your arrogance. Instead of celebrating your uniqueness, they labeled it too much. But what's too much for small minds is just enough for the universe to use. And now, the same traits they tried to twist are the same traits people are admiring in you. Finally, with clean eyes. The truth breaking now isn't just exposing what they did, it's exposing who they've always been: manipulative, insecure, addicted to control. You didn't just survive their setup, you outlasted their entire illusion. And that makes you dangerous, not because you fight back with rage, but because you walk forward with calm. Calm kills liars, calm scares pretenders. Because only those with nothing to hide can remain still when the room gets loud. And let's get real. The people who once looked at you with suspicion are now embarrassed. They believed the lies, they shared them, they nodded when your name came up in gossip. But now they're scrambling to unlink themselves from the mess. Because the curtain's been pulled back, and all that's left behind it is the rotten smell of desperation, fear, and ego. Let this be clear. You didn't have to break the truth wide open. You just had to outlast the lie, and you did. You did it while carrying the weight of silent accusations. You did it while being excluded, judged, and misread. You did it while they laughed, and now they're quiet. Isn't it funny how that works? The same mouths that mocked you can't seem to form words now. That's not coincidence, that's justice. You were framed, they made sure of it. They pulled strings, planted doubts, stirred drama, and threw you into a narrative that never belonged to you. But the universe was watching, not just watching, but documenting every whisper, every fake concern, every silent nod when your name was being destroyed behind closed doors. And now all of it is rising to the surface like oil from muddy water. You were framed, yes, but they forgot that real truth doesn't stay buried. It rises with force. This is where it gets deeper. Some of the very people who helped frame you, they're now pretending to be shocked by the truth. That's how dirty this game was. They didn't just lie, they rehearsed the apology in advance. But the universe isn't fooled, and neither are you. You can see it in their eyes. Panic, guilt, shame. You can hear it in their silence, because now the truth has made you untouchable. You're not just being vindicated, you're being reborn in the eyes of the same people who doubted you. This is bigger than revenge. This is transformation, and it hurts them to watch it, because deep down they know. You were never the problem. You were the proof. Proof that you can't fake energy. Proof that no matter how many lies they throw at a chosen one, the truth finds a way to scream through the cracks. Chosen one, the world is watching. The same people who avoided you when the lies were loud are now lurking to see what happens next. Let them watch. Let them feel it. You owe no explanations, no "I told you so," no performance. Your presence alone is the closure. Your growth is the answer. Your peace is the punishment. So stand tall, speak less, and let the truth keep working. It's not done yet. The final chapters are being written, and they're going to shake every fake foundation they built using your name. The shocking truth has broken, and it didn't just clear your name, it shattered theirs. And the best part? You didn't have to destroy them. Their own lies did the job for you. That's the power of being chosen. You don't fight dirty, you just stay real. And in a world built on fakes, that's the biggest threat of all. And hey, chosen one, if you've made it this far, it means your spirit already knew something wasn't right. And now the truth is finally confirming what your intuition whispered all along. This is no ordinary message. This is a turning point. So before we go any deeper, take a moment to drop the number 777 in the comments, because this truth just set the world on fire, and your story is at the center of it. And if this message is waking something up in you, bless the team behind it with a super thanks. Whether it's a cent or a dollar, you already know. It's not about the number. It's about fueling the mission. These truths are not easy to find, and even harder to speak. But together, we make it louder. Together, we pull the mask off what's been hidden for too long. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next is going to explain why they worked so hard to bury you. Let's break it down, piece by piece. You deserve to hear every part of it. Let's get started. Number 1. They climbed the ladder of lies, using your back as the first step. They didn't just lie on your name, they used it like a platform, then kicked it down once they got the spotlight. This wasn't accidental. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was war. Silent, calculated war. And their weapon wasn't fists, it was narrative. The enemy knew they couldn't beat your light, so they crafted a shadow big enough to cover you. Piece by piece, they used parts of your story, twisted it just enough to make it look messy, then sold it to the public like they were telling the truth. That's the sickest part. They didn't just lie about you. They built their entire identity on top of you. Let's call it what it is: reputation theft, character assassination disguised as concern, fake victimhood wrapped in polished words and well-timed tears. The audience never questioned it because it was a show. And people love a good show. They used their fake hurt to get attention. They painted you as the storm while they stood in the rain with fake tears, knowing they were the ones who cut the clouds open in the first place. And here's the brutal truth: total lies don't stick. They fall apart too easily. So they laced their story with pieces of your truth, just enough to make it believable. They didn't fabricate a monster, they distorted a human. That's how they fooled even the smartest people around you. That's how they made you look like the problem when you were the only one holding things together. They studied you. They mimicked your emotions. They borrowed your language, then used all of it to build a version of you that would make them look like saints in comparison. But here's what they didn't count on: time, because time doesn't stay loyal to lies. Time slowly eats away at false foundations. Time makes people ask questions. Why is the one they demonized still standing strong? Why is the one they called unstable always calm? Why is the one they said was toxic still walking with peace, while the good ones are getting exposed left and right? That's when the real disgust begins. Not at you, chosen one, at themselves, at the crowd that once laughed at your pain, now realizing they were cheering for your execution and calling it justice. That's why they can't look at you now. It's not guilt, it's shame. They helped build a story that's collapsing in real time, and they know your silence is more powerful than anything they could post, say, or fake now. So yes, they built their reputation on your ruin. They climbed a ladder made from your name, your pain, your silence. But now that ladder is crumbling. Every step they took is breaking beneath them. And you're still standing, because your truth wasn't loud, but it was real. And reality, unlike performance, never needs to beg for attention. Now they're choking on the same story they wrote. That's not karma, that's exposure. That's the universe reminding everyone that nothing built on pain will ever last. Number 2, their accusation was a hidden confession. People don't describe you. They confess who they are when they try to destroy you. They didn't point fingers at you because you did something wrong. They did it because they were guilty and needed someone else to carry their shame. Every time they accused you, they were really talking about themselves. Their lies weren't random. They were personal. And now it's obvious. They exposed themselves through every word they threw at you. Imagine a thief who screams, "That person stole something," just to take attention off their own full pockets. That's what they did to you. They put their mess in your hands and ran away, hoping no one would notice. But the universe is patient, and it watches everything. Now, the truth is playing like a film in front of the same crowd they fooled. And it's ugly. Their own words have become evidence against them. They called you manipulative, while they played everyone like a game. They said you had an attitude, while they were the ones filled with pride. They said you couldn't be trusted, while they were busy backstabbing, lying, and controlling everything behind closed doors. What they said about you wasn't a warning, it was a self-portrait. Here's a fact. When someone constantly accuses you of things that don't match your actions, it's usually because they are the ones doing those things. That's called projection. It's the oldest trick of the guilty. And it worked for a while. People believed them. They looked at you sideways. They backed away without asking questions. But now, the silence is breaking. The truth is loud, and it's shaking the ground under their feet. Imagine this. A person walks around handing out broken mirrors, telling everyone that the cracked reflection is you. But one day, people stop looking at the mirror and start looking at you directly. That's what's happening now. The world is finally seeing you clearly and realizing the mirror was never broken. It was fake. The reason this moment hurts them so badly is because their mask is falling off in front of everyone they tried to impress. They didn't just lie in secret, they lied loudly. They convinced people to turn against you, all while pretending they were the ones being harmed. But guess what? The lie has expired, and the smell of their guilt is filling the room. Why did they come for you so hard? Because you were a threat. Your light made their darkness uncomfortable. Your peace made their drama look obvious. Your honesty made their games impossible to play. They couldn't stand how solid you were, so they tried to break you with lies. The loudest one in the room is usually hiding the most. And they were loud. They made sure everyone heard their version first, hoping to shape the story before truth had a chance to speak. But truth doesn't need to shout, it only needs time. And now it's time. Now people are connecting the dots. The accusations were too detailed, too personal, too sharp. That's not how innocent people talk. That's how guilty people confess through disguise. Every insult they threw your way came from a deep place of fear and jealousy. They didn't see your flaws. They saw your power. And it terrified them. Imagine trying to paint someone as evil while using the same brush you used to hide your own filth. That's what they did. But here's the problem. The paint is peeling, their cover is cracking, and the face behind the mask is not pretty. What they say about you says more about them than it ever did about you. Chosen one, don't doubt yourself now. You were right to stay calm. You were right to say less and move smart, because now the spotlight is turning and it's showing every dirty move they made behind your back. They thought they were building your downfall, but they were building their own exposure. They didn't frame you to protect the truth. They framed you to protect their secrets. But secrets don't stay buried forever. The deeper they bury them, the louder they come back when they rise. And right now, the noise is deafening. People around them are shocked, not because they didn't see the signs, but because they chose to look away. Now they can't. Now the truth is in their faces, and it's disgusting. Not just what was done to you, but who did it, and how far they went to make sure it worked. When the mask slips, the whole story changes. And that's where we are now. The story has flipped. You're no longer the target. You're the truth bearer. And the ones who once clapped for your fall, they're quiet, ashamed. Some of them are even afraid, because they took part in your pain. And now they're watching the liar melt in front of them. So what do you do now? Nothing. You don't have to explain. You don't have to defend. The truth is doing that for you, loudly, brutally, and beautifully. You don't need revenge. You don't need a stage. You already won. Not because they admitted it, but because they exposed themselves trying to hide it. The truth doesn't need a defense. It just needs time. And your time just arrived. Let them deal with the guilt. Let them drown in their own confusion. Let them sit with the shame of knowing they accused an innocent soul just to protect their dirty hands. The frame they tried to trap you in, it's become a mirror, and what they see now is themselves. Number 3, they cast you as the villain to escape their own reflection. They didn't need you to be bad. They just needed someone else to carry the guilt they refused to own. They didn't ruin your name out of hate. They did it to breathe easier. You were never the problem. You were just in the way of their illusion. Their guilt was burning a hole in their chest, and instead of facing it, they wrapped it in your image and passed it off as your fault. That's why they needed you to be the villain. Not because you were, but because they couldn't face what they really were. Imagine someone spilling red paint on their white shirt, then blaming you for bleeding on them. That's what this was. They were the mess, but they used your name to clean their conscience. They couldn't carry the truth about what they did. So, they told lies about who you are. And for a while, people believed it, because it was easier to digest a villain story than to accept that a kind, calm, quiet soul was being punished for nothing. They said you changed. They said you were unstable. But what they really meant was, we're scared people will find out what we did. They turned your growth into a threat. They twisted your silence into arrogance. They labeled your boundaries as betrayal. And all of it, every word, was a mirror they couldn't stand to look into. Here's the thing, they didn't destroy your image to hurt you. They did it to survive. Rewriting the past was their sedative. Lying about you was how they slept at night. But lies have side effects, and now those same bedtime stories are haunting them. People are starting to see it. The cracks don't lie. And suddenly, the unstable villain is the only one not shaking. The real disgust, it's not just for them. It's in the hearts of those who watched, nodded, and stayed quiet. Because deep down, they knew. You didn't fall, you were pushed. And now, the one they painted as a monster is the only one standing in peace. Number 4. You were the trap that revealed their true nature. They didn't change, they just ran out of excuses to pretend they were loyal. This wasn't some accident. You were placed in that storm for a reason. The setup wasn't about breaking you, it was about exposing them. You were the trigger that revealed their real character. You were the test, and they failed it before the first question was even asked. That moment you were framed, the masks started falling off like dead skin. No warning, no grace, just raw exposure. Imagine a fire alarm going off in a crowded room, not because there's smoke, but to see who runs, who freezes, and who tries to shove others down to get out first. That's what your crisis did. It didn't burn the building, it revealed the people inside it. Suddenly, the smiles vanished. The support turned quiet. And those who called you family started whispering like strangers in the dark. It wasn't about who stood beside you when things were perfect. It was about who vanished when things looked ugly. That's when the truth came out. Some laughed behind closed doors. Some stayed silent, thinking silence was safety. Others acted like they cared while secretly feeding the flames. And now they're exposed. Because when loyalty costs nothing, everyone looks loyal. But when it costs you something, that's when you see who's real. You didn't lose them, they lost the mask. Every rumor, every fake smile, every sudden shift in energy was a scan of their soul. They thought they were watching your downfall, but they were just revealing themselves. Your pain became a spotlight, and they stood in it without even realizing their shadows were showing. Now, the shame is thick in the air, not because of anything you did, but because they saw who they became when tested. The disgust they feel isn't about you. It's the sour taste of betrayal sitting in their own mouths. And it doesn't wash away easy, because now every time they look at you, they remember what they didn't do when it mattered. Number 5. The frame. Separated the real from the rotten. When the truth went silent, their energy spoke louder than words, and some of them screamed betrayal without saying a thing. This wasn't just a setup. It was a signal test. The moment your name was thrown into the fire, the universe was listening, watching, and measuring, not to see who clapped, but to see who flinched, who stood still, and who exposed their own frequency. This wasn't just about lies, it was about alignment. Who did their energy connect with when the facts were still hidden? The truth or the drama? Imagine a radio playing static, and only those tuned in to the right frequency could hear the real message. That's what happened when the smear campaign hit. Some tuned straight into the gossip station. Loud, messy, destructive. Others turned down the volume and waited quietly, trusting what they felt over what they heard. That feeling, that was truth calling, and only a few had the spirit to answer. Energy never lies, people do. The ones who believed the worst about you didn't just get it wrong. They exposed what they vibrate with. They weren't fooled. They aligned with deception because that's where their spirit lives. Low energy attracts low truths. The drama wasn't a detour, it was their destination. They didn't fall for the lie, they followed it. But those who stayed still, the ones who didn't jump on the bandwagon, who held their tongue, who felt something was off, those souls vibrate higher. They may not have had proof, but they had discernment. And that's the rarest loyalty of all, the kind that doesn't wait for the world to approve it. Your test exposed their true vibration. This frame didn't break you, it sorted the room. The universe used it to classify everything: who's real, who's rotten, who's resonating with truth, and who only moves when lies feel familiar. And now, the ones who moved against you are sinking under the same weight they once tried to place on your shoulders. Low energy can't stand when the truth rises, and that's exactly what's happening now. Number 6, you won because you endured what they couldn't survive. You didn't defend yourself, you outlasted them, and that silence they mocked became the loudest proof of all. They were waiting for you to break. They wanted a reaction, a meltdown, a moment they could point to and say, "See, we told you they were unstable, but you didn't give it to them. You didn't shout, you didn't chase validation. You let the clock do the talking. That's what burned them the most, your refusal to dance in their chaos." Because when lies make noise, silence becomes sacred. Imagine being accused of crimes you never committed, and instead of begging for mercy, you just stand tall, calm, still, steady. That's what you did. And the world mistook your composure for guilt, not realizing it was strength. The universe was documenting the whole thing, writing a silent report on your patience while they screamed for attention. You didn't fight dirty because you weren't built from dirt. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Every time you didn't answer, you exposed their desperation. Every insult you ignored became another nail in the coffin of their credibility. You didn't need to defend yourself, your character was already doing it for you. They thought endurance meant submission, but it was actually mastery, emotional, mental, and spiritual mastery. You were walking proof that truth doesn't need to sprint, it just needs to keep walking. And that's what drove them mad. You didn't play their game, you stayed above it. You didn't argue, you evolved. While they wasted energy building lies, you conserved yours and built peace. And now, the tables have flipped. Their stories are falling apart, while your calm is aging like evidence, clear, undeniable, and impossible to argue with. Time protects the innocent, but it destroys the liar. That's why your endurance mattered. You didn't survive the frame, you outlasted it. You stood there, unmoved, while their mask slipped under the pressure of their own noise. And now, everyone can see who had true strength all along. You. Number 7. Their lies decayed into radioactive evidence. The lie didn't vanish. It mutated, leaked, and poisoned everything they touched. They thought they could keep it hidden, thought the lie would sit quietly in the dark, untouched and forgotten. But lies don't rest, they rot. They don't vanish, they evolve into something worse. And the one they built around you? That lie, aged like toxic waste, it seeped into everything they tried to protect. Their reputation, their relationships, their public image. What started as whispers turned into fumes that now choke even the people who once believed them. Imagine sealing poison in a glass jar and thinking it'll stay contained forever. Eventually, the pressure builds, the cracks form, and one day it bursts, spreading the very thing they swore they could control. That's what's happening now. Their story is breaking down. Their version is falling apart. The lie has outlived its shelf life, and the smell is unbearable. Deception demands maintenance. Truth needs none. They had to keep patching the story, keep retelling it, keep performing. One detail off, and the whole thing shook. Their voice changed. Their eyes darted. The same words that once earned them sympathy now sound scripted, hollow. And the people around them? They feel it. Something's off. The vibe shifted. That gut feeling isn't confusion, it's realization. We were played, and now the damage is showing. Their charisma, gone. Their polish, peeled. The charm they used to distract doesn't work anymore. All that's left is a timeline of contradictions and a mouthful of excuses. What used to be seen as confidence now looks like cover-up. What used to feel like concern now reeks of control. Lies don't die quietly. They expose the liar on their way out. Their words didn't fade. They fossilized. Every false claim they made about you is now being replayed, rewatched, reread by the very people they tried to impress. And this time, those words don't sound brave. They sound like confession. That's the pain they can't escape now, because it's not just that they lied, it's that they lived in that lie so long. It became their entire identity, and now the mask is glued on and cracking badly. Number 8. They buried you in shame, not knowing it would shine back on them. They tried to hide you in disgrace, but the truth used that same dirt to polish your name. They thought you were done, thought covering you in shame would erase you, humiliate you, make people forget you ever stood for anything. But what they didn't know, what they never saw coming, is that the shame wasn't your ending. It was your armor. You weren't buried. You were planted. Imagine a spotlight turning away from you and lighting up everyone else on the stage. Suddenly, they perform, loud, flashy, hungry for praise. And you're off stage, silent, forgotten. But here's the twist. The light wasn't gone. It was preparing. Because when the truth shows up, it needs the noise to settle. And now the noise is quiet. The crowd is watching again, and you're still here, stronger, wiser, and glowing in a way that doesn't need applause. Your shame didn't break you. It became the filter that revealed everyone else's truth. They used your silence as a stage. They saw your absence as permission, and in your stillness they exposed themselves. Every fake, humble speech, every show of compassion, every post, every quote, every sideways glance, all of it was a performance, and the universe caught it in real time. They weren't rising, they were reflecting. Off your name, off your absence, off the lie they helped spread. Their glow wasn't real. It was your downfall casting light onto their empty selves. But now that the cloud is clearing, guess what's left? Not their performance, not their fake virtue, just you, clear, unshaken, clean. Sometimes the universe hides you, not to punish, but to protect the light until the shadows burn themselves out. Chosen one, your silence was never weakness. It was strategy. It was protection. And now, that shame they threw on you like dirt has turned to gold. The crown they fought for is crumbling in their hands. And yours? It's being forged from every lie they spoke, every time they laughed, every moment they doubted you. They thought shame would be your cage. Instead, it became their mirror, and now the light isn't just exposing them, it's choosing you. Number 9. They tried to erase you, but the universe was etching your name in stone. While they dragged your name through the mud, the universe was carving it into legacy. They thought they were destroying you, thought if they shouted loud enough, the world would forget who you really were. But what they didn't realize is this: every lie, every smear, every public stab in the back was being recorded. Not as shame, but as evidence. Not evidence of guilt, but proof of endurance. While they were trying to bury you in disgrace, the universe was building you a throne in silence. Imagine a courtroom where only one side is allowed to speak. Loud, reckless, emotional. But in the background, a quiet scribe writes every word, every pause, every contradiction. That scribe, that was the universe. And while the world debated your worth, truth wasn't debating at all. It was collecting receipts. They thought they were writing your ending. Turns out they were writing your qualifications. You didn't just stay quiet because you were tired. You stayed quiet because you knew truth has its own timing. Knew peace speaks louder than panic. Knew that storms don't scare those who are the storm. You weren't cleared in the end. You were crowned because the story they built to destroy you ended up proving your strength in ways even you didn't see coming. They were gaining sympathy. You were gaining rank. They were busy harvesting gossip. You were growing roots. That's why the comeback hits harder, because it wasn't rushed. It was cultivated. Your rise is not loud. It's undeniable. They didn't just fail to destroy you. They accidentally made you unforgettable. Scandal didn't cancel your name. It certified it. Now the light is shifting, and as it does, people are realizing that the one they were told to doubt was the only one walking in integrity, the only one who didn't crack, the only one who stayed real through the fire. You were framed, yes, but that frame became the border of a much bigger picture, and now the full image is finally showing, and it's royalty. Number 10. They fought with illusions because the truth was too heavy. When proof stood too tall for them to fight, they threw shadows instead. They knew they couldn't touch the facts. So they went after something softer, something easier to bend. How people see you. That's how cowards fight. They don't come with evidence. They come with whispers, raised eyebrows, and suggestive looks. They shape perception like clay, because proof is too hard for their shaky hands to hold. They couldn't prove a thing, so they built an illusion and fed it to the crowd like candy. Sweet on the outside, poison at the core. They repeated the lie enough times that people stopped asking questions. That's how manipulation works. If it feels true, it doesn't have to be true. And they banked on that. They figured if they said it long enough, you'd break before the truth could breathe. They couldn't destroy you, so they distorted you. But here's what they didn't calculate: your consistency. You didn't panic. You didn't chase approval. You didn't crack under pressure. That's what scared them, because while they were performing, you were being. While they were adjusting their story, you were holding your truth. And the longer that contrast lived, the more obvious it became. Imagine trying to throw paint on a wall every day, hoping it covers the writing beneath it, only for the words to bleed through stronger each time. That's what your truth did. It didn't fade. It fought back with silence, with grace, with time. And now those same lies they crafted so carefully are collapsing like cheap stage props. Their voice wavers. Their story shifts. People are starting to say, something's not right here. Perception is loud, but proof is eternal. They tried to bury your name under public opinion, but opinions blow with the wind. The truth stands like stone. And now, it's their fear showing, because what they dreaded most wasn't your words, it was your existence. You are the proof they couldn't erase, the consistency they couldn't mimic, and the mirror they couldn't stand to face. They didn't lose to your defense, they lost to your unshakable presence. Number 11. The frame was the stage where they unmasked themselves. They handed you the script for your downfall, not knowing it would play out as their confession. They thought they were building a spectacle to shame you. Every word they spread, every accusation they hurled, every alliance they formed in the dark, it was all part of their performance. But here's the twist they never saw coming. The spotlight they aimed at your flaws ended up revealing their own rot. The frame wasn't your trap, it was their stage, and they performed a little too well. Imagine someone digging a pit for you, decorating it, setting the lights, gathering an audience, only to fall into it themselves in the final act. That's what happened here. Their entire campaign to expose you became a mirror that showed the crowd their own ugliness, their cruelty, their insecurity, their obsession with bringing someone down just to feel taller. Every lie they told became a breadcrumb trail back to their own shame. And when truth showed up, it didn't roar. It whispered. It came through subtle cracks, mismatched stories, fake smiles falling out of sync, timelines that stopped making sense. People started noticing. The stories stopped holding weight. And one by one, those who clapped for your fall started clenching their stomachs in regret. Because deep down, they know they weren't just watching your setup, they were cheering for it. But you never shouted, you never stooped, you stayed grounded, and that silence, that was the loudest move you made. While they kept trying to twist the plot, the universe just kept pressing record. And now, their own words play back like evidence. Their performance has ended, the masks have melted, and the faces they tried to protect are exposed, raw, and stained. They tried to frame you as the problem, but framed themselves as the proof. You didn't just survive the trap, you transcended it. What was meant to crush your name ended up clearing it, and what was designed to elevate theirs has burned their false image to ash. They thought this was about you, and it never was. It was always about them, and now everyone sees it. Number 12. They tried to silence you because your truth was loud without speaking. The moment they couldn't control you, they called you dangerous, not because you were wrong, but because you were real. You weren't framed because you slipped up. You were framed because you stood out. Your presence made insecure people itch. You didn't beg for attention, but it followed you anyway. You didn't play the politics, but people still listened when you spoke, and that scared them deeply. You were too stable, too focused, too unreachable for their games, so they did what small minds always do when faced with something they can't control. They tried to ruin it. Weak people don't get framed. Irrelevant people don't get targeted. You were marked because you made them feel invisible. You showed up with truth in a room full of illusion, and suddenly their masks started slipping. That's when the fear kicked in. They didn't fear what you did. They feared what you represented. A standard, a contrast, a reflection of everything they were faking. They didn't hate you for being wrong. They hated you for being undeniable. They didn't need the world to hate you. They just needed it to question you. Because doubt is quiet poison. It spreads slowly, infects everything. They whispered just enough to cloud your image, hoping people would pull back before they got close enough to see your real light. But here's the punchline. The more they tried to dim you, the brighter you burned. And now, their fear has become exposure. Their alliances are cracking. The ones who stood with them are backing away. Their false confidence has turned into paranoia. Meanwhile, you're still standing, calm, unbothered, clean. You didn't clap back. You didn't fight dirty. You let the truth walk in slowly, and now it's tearing their version apart. They framed you to stop your rise. Instead, they made you unforgettable. You weren't framed because you failed. You were framed because they did. They couldn't copy your strength, so they tried to call it arrogance. They couldn't match your peace, so they labeled it cold. But every accusation became a spotlight. And now the world sees what they tried to erase. You weren't the threat they painted. You were the truth they couldn't bury. Number 13. They don't just feel sorry. Their spirit can't stomach the truth anymore. It's not just guilt. It's energy rejection. Their body knows what their mouth won't say. You were never the problem. This isn't about apologies anymore. This isn't even about feelings. What's happening now is deeper. It's energetic. The shift in the air? That's not imagination. That's truth showing up and choking out every lie that was once comfortably floating in the room. People aren't just emotionally disturbed. They're spiritually nauseous. And the ones who once defended your accusers? They can barely sit in the same space with them now. Their bodies know what their minds are still catching up to. Imagine walking into a room where everything looks fine, but something feels wrong. That feeling in the gut, that pressure in the chest, that sudden need to step back. That's energy correcting the space. That's the atmosphere rejecting what doesn't belong. And right now, the ones who mocked you, the ones who stayed silent, and the ones who helped spread the lie, they're feeling it. Not because you demanded anything, but because truth demands alignment. People lie with words, but energy tells the real story. They can't look you in the eye. They don't know why they feel anxious around your name. It's not regret, it's resonance collapse. Their vibration no longer matches what they once defended. And the truth? It's no longer whispering. It's echoing through their spirit, reminding them that they clapped for a lie and ignored what was real. This is what exposure feels like on a soul level. It's not rage, it's rearrangement. The guilty feel heavy, the fake feels seen, the proud now feel sick. And it's not because you changed, it's because the fog around your name lifted. And now your presence feels too pure for their contaminated spirit to handle. You didn't need revenge, the truth changed the entire atmosphere. Apologies? They don't matter now. The energy already spoke. Your name, once dragged through the mud, now floats above it, untouchable. The disgust they feel isn't about you. It's about themselves. And no amount of pretending can mute that spiritual recoil. Truth didn't just win, it rewired the whole room. Number 14, you didn't just make it through, you became the standard for real justice. They tried to end you publicly, not knowing the universe was using you to redefine what justice really looks like. This wasn't just survival, this was transformation. They set the stage for your humiliation, thinking they were writing your final chapter, but instead they created a courtroom, and the universe used your calm, your silence, and your strength as undeniable proof. You didn't scream for fairness. You became the evidence. You didn't throw dirt back. You let their lies bury themselves. Imagine someone throwing fire at you, and instead of burning, you absorb the heat and turn it into light. That's what happened. You didn't retaliate. You radiated, and while they were busy plotting your fall, the universe was shifting every single piece into alignment. What was meant to disgrace you only gave truth more room to speak. You didn't fight for justice. You revealed what justice looks like when it's built on truth, not ego. While they got louder, you got quieter. And in that silence, something powerful happened. The lie fell apart by itself. The rumors folded under their own weight. And your patience, the very thing they mocked, became the gavel that slammed down with finality. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in perfect alignment. Now look around. The ones who built stories are trapped inside them. The ones who stayed clean are rising without effort. That's not revenge, that's real justice. It's not about punishing the guilty. It's about exposing the lie and elevating the truth without ever stepping out of character. You didn't survive the frame. You turned it into the foundation of your throne. Every insult became a badge. Every smear became a spark. And every attempt to silence you only made the truth louder. You didn't just walk away with your name cleared. You walked away with your power multiplied. They gave you their worst, and the universe turned it into a masterclass in endurance, alignment, and quiet, brutal redemption. And now the world sees real justice doesn't yell. It arrives. And that's how the story flipped, not in noise, but in truth. You weren't erased. You were revealed. Let this message remind you that endurance is power and silence is strategy. If this truth hit your soul today, press that like button if you haven't already. And if you're not part of our growing family yet, make sure to subscribe right now. Because chosen ones like you deserve messages that cut through the noise. Your presence matters. Your truth matters. And this is just the beginning. Stay sharp, stay free, stay chosen.